Hi guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Ina and today I will have a seasonal topic for you. So the clocks changed here in the UK, the temperature drops and the days are much shorter as well. For this reason, the way that I look after my orchid has to be slightly adjusted. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing now, especially in this month, November, that's basically end of autumn and beginning of winter. I hope it might be useful for you. I hope you enjoy this type of content, especially if you live in North Europe and also in a region where you have this kind of drop in temperature as well and the days become much shorter, if that's the kind of content that you're waiting to see here. But before I go to the video, just want to show you these are my mugs that I actually produced and that they are available in my store. The store is linked here on my YouTube channel. I have other beautiful mugs as well. All of them are based on orchids. The colorful ones, such as this one, is one orchid that I actually own, and it's my homage to my beautiful Toshiaoki. But I have other types of orchids there, and I have different types of design as well. I brought these three here so I could show you the mugs, and also I can enjoy them while I'm having my coffee and drinking some water. And if you're interested in buying some of these kind of mugs to help myself, to help the channel, but also Christmas is around here, to gift someone that you love and love orchids, or maybe to give to yourself as well, why not? So here I have these beautiful orchid mugs. I hope you enjoy them as much I enjoy making them and creating them for you. Without further ado, let's go to the video. So now the time changed, daylight hours are much shorter than before. So one of my adjustments is with my growing lights. So what I have to do is basically adjust the clock so they will turn on a bit earlier in the day and they will stay a little bit until the late afternoon. So even when it's dark here, the growing lights will be still on, because these orchids, they come from tropical countries, so ideally they should have 8 to 10 hours of light a day. And here my day starts, I think I have proper light around 8 a.m. I would say, and 4 p.m. is already getting super dark. So I have to adjust my growing light so I can offer enough light to these orchids, following up the hours that I have outside, but also complementing it with a little bit more light. If you are lucky enough to have an east-south facing window, such the ones that I have in here, what I do as well is making sure that all orchids, they're not sitting underneath my growing light. They will be exposed to this type of light that I have here behind me, because I know that will be enough for them to go through winter. The only thing that I need to be careful in this case specifically is to make sure that these windows are closed, there is not a super cold wind coming through, otherwise I would have other sorts of issues. If the windows are closed, especially at night time, then I can make sure that my orchids are receiving enough natural light, but it's ideal that if you don't have this sort of light, some orchids, especially the ones that require a little bit of more of a full spectrum light or have a need for more light, you would have to complement with growing light or maybe some artificial light. I don't have any issues with direct sunlight here. I think here in the UK I am okay, I'm covered. Sunlight won't affect my orchids, but if you live in a place where sunlight can be a little bit stronger, then you might be careful with the ones that you are giving direct exposure. But let's go now to my second adjustment. The next thing is temperature. As you can imagine, where I live, temperature will drop significantly, especially around this time of the year. So something that I need to do is to keep the heating on for a couple of hours a day, especially when the temperature outside is dropping to 10 degrees Celsius, 15 degrees Celsius. I tend to turn the heating on for a couple of hours a day, sometimes early in the morning and mainly end of the day, beginning of the evening. So the house will get warm. I will have a temperature around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. My plant will be fine, even if the temperature drops at night time a little bit. My orchids will be mostly comfortable and it helps them to grow healthily. I don't have issues with humidity specifically. We have to be careful with heating because it can make the air much drier. So, if that's the case, if you already live in a place that's very dry, with the heating turned on, it can get even drier. So, something that might help your orchids is to water them more frequently. I don't have this issue with my orchids. They tend to be fine without any sort of humidifier. And actually, I don't have to water them as frequently. Something that I'm noticing with my orchid here is that with the cooler months, I don't have to water them as often as before. So I usually water my orchids every week, I would say. But I can take 10 days, and some orchids can get without water for 2 weeks in my environment because it can get pretty cool and also it's a bit humid as well. So, as a rule of thumb, if the temperature dropped a little bit, you're gonna have less need to water your plants because they won't lose so much water to the environment. And when it gets warmer, you might need to water your plant more frequently. However, you have to observe the roots of your orchid, make sure that they are still wet. Some orchids, such as oncidiums and intergenerics, I still have to water them weekly because they will lose water faster to the environment than Cattleyas, Vandas, and Phalaenopsis, for example. In my case specifically, I can go without watering them for 10 days. So that's something that changes as well when I have this change in temperature and light. Something else that I always do around this time of the year as well is basically rearranging my grow space. I tend to grab all of my Dendrobium nobilis and other dendrobiums and plants that need a cool down in temperature, bringing them to one bathroom that I have that has no heating, and then these plants can be there and they will be offered this cool down and they are capable of pushing flower spikes. While the plants there are in this space right now will come here to my living room and they will be here because they won't enjoy this sudden drop in temperature. It's very, very important that again you research about your plants as well. Not every orchid will need a drop down in temperature. Even Phalaenopsis orchids that need a slightly drop in temperature to be able to bloom. It's not something so drastic, something that can get to 10 degrees Celsius or 5 degrees Celsius. No, they can be inside your home with your other orchids, all good in there. Don't place any orchids outside. They might die. It's too cold for them. We have to remember that they don't grow in these kind of environments naturally, so they have to be indoors. The orchids that I rearrange and place in these spaces specifically are very specific orchids. I have other videos talking about these in this channel. I link them down below, but the time is coming for me to rearrange these orchids in order for me to be able to have Dendrobium nobile blooms in January and February. So I need to do that sooner than later. That's the only thing that I change in my collection during this time of the year. The rest of the orchids will be sitting where they are at the moment. Something else that we'll notice that will happen now is that as a result of having less light or lower level of light, is that most of our orchids will slow down a little bit. They won't grow leaves as faster as before. They won't grow as many roots as they were growing before during the warmer months, and maybe some of them won't even bloom. But pay attention because we have seasonal orchids and these ones will be pushing flower spikes during the season, such as Phalaenopsis. I have most of my Phalaenopsis spiking right now because the temperature is already low here. So they understood that's their time, the perfect time to bloom. And I have someone else, see? The temperature was so low here in the living room during night time, my Barrioda doesn't need a proper cool down in temperature to be able to bloom. It pushed out 2 flower spikes and I can see there is a third one here on the way. So that's the time where the seasonal plants will give the sign that we expect for the whole year, that is to see them in bloom. So this will happen soon and that's their season to finally push their spikes. We might not have so many growths as we had before, but we do have some other orchids that will be able to surprise us as well. So just to sum up, what we have is less light, dropping temperature, and which adjustments we have to make is monitor your heating, monitor the heating system. Please don't have it on all the time. It gets too dry inside our homes. It's also not so good. Making sure that we have consistent temperature, making sure that we are offering sunlight to these plants, and also be careful with watering. Only water these plants when they need water, because if we water these plants so much, we might have root rot, specifically now that it's winter, that we don't have higher temperature, and maybe the windows will be closed as well, so we don't have as much ventilation around. It is important that we avoid fungus and bacteria, especially during this season. That was everything that I want to tell you. That's all of the adjustments that I make for my orchids. Which adjustments you have to make for your orchid if you live in a place like that? Let me know down below. I would love to hear from you. Also, if you enjoy this type of content, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!